Okay, we have a quorum of council in the chambers, and it is past 12:45, and we said we'd get going again, so I'm going to call us back to order. When last we spoke in these chambers, we were on the questions and answers to staff section of the Healthy City Strategy. Staff, did you receive any questions by email that you'd like to deal with off the top, and then we'll move to the speakers queue? Okay, so I don't have anyone on the speakers queue, so we could, I don't really know what to do other than, okay, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you so much for the presentations. My questions really are in follow-up to the statement that was made by Councillor Reimer around the fact that there is synchronicity between the various objectives and in various strategies of the city. So this sort of brings together a number, and I'm specifically looking at 3 that I had earlier addressed, and I'm wondering if we could just ensure that they are meshed. I believe the statement was made, if there's a cross-check that's going to go on, I guess I'm just alerting you to some that I'd like to ensure get meshed between different strategies. And also to encourage that it could be that the Healthy City Strategy adds some different perspective and depth to those other goals that might refine them. I don't know if it works both ways, but I'd like to see it work both ways. So first is around, in this document, environments to thrive, and the point I raised about the tree canopy. And I'm wondering if there can be, that specific goal can be added in, and if there can be a refinement around the tree canopy to make sure that it's a healthy city tree canopy.
So, Councillor, maybe
I can run through those and
okay,
just use it. Okay. So the second is around food assets, and the statement that Madam City Manager that you made, that we have the ability to track. We haven't done it yet, but we could potentially track really all the food assets in terms of growing food in the city, specifically in terms of private gardens, because I'm worried about the loss of those, and so I think our citizens. And third is the one point I didn't raise earlier was the access to nature, and the fact that I believe the Park Board still has a standing goal, but I would like to get affirmation of that, of having 2.7 hectares of parkland per 1,000 residents, and if that could be pursued. And then the fourth, of course, is one that came up, which is to have staff pursue under making ends meet and investigate potentially with other cities that have this, the living wage policy for Vancouver City.
So maybe I can address those, Council. So first of all, in terms of food assets and gardens, we do not, as I said, we don't track gardens on all private property. We track community gardens and community kitchens and those kinds of assets that you're very familiar with under the strategy. And we do look at permeable land on any development site, and so we will take that back and see what's feasible and possible. In terms of the issue around the urban canopy, our whole urban forest strategy was driven by Healthy City, and there was a lot of discussion between the Healthy City staff and the staff doing the urban forest strategy. So we know that all the targets and goals are best practice and evidence-based, and basically, really, an urban forest strategy is primarily driven by the health needs of having cover and healthy access to nature. So if you go back to that presentation, they're well integrated, and we'll certainly be reviewing all that in the action plan.
Right.
In terms of the advocacy on, early, I think you said early development and early intervention.
Right.
That is something that we've done a huge amount of work. Our whole childcare strategy is based on that, and the goals for childcare that are laid out in this strategy align with the direction from Council, and over a longer period of time are, equally as aggressive as the next 4 years goals that Council has provided for us.
And just apropos of that, Madam City Manager, can we have a verification of whether or not the Park Board is still pursuing the 2.7 hectares per thousand?
Yes, we can get
residents?
back to you on that. When
Right.
we come forward with our action plan, we can address those issues. for
Right,
sure.
thank you. Good. And the ability to pursue in conversation or however it's done with other cities that do have a living wage policy, what that might mean for Vancouver?
Yes, and we've done quite a lot of work with Van City already. We are getting a sense of, you know, what is part of, because it's a long journey, as they described. It took them several years to get to where they are, and we've had some preliminary discussions with them, and that will again be part of the discussions that roll out in the action plan.
Right, thank you. One last question for, I think, Ms. Zak. And that is in follow-up to one of the speakers who asked how it was that that you determined the expert people that you sought advice from and how you integrated what are really citizen experts, the people of the city, in terms of their expertise.
So just to start so it's clear is through our consultation and our engagement process, what we did in terms of encouraging ideas is that we offered some prizing that was no cost to the city. They were donations from the Y for a fitness pass and that kind of thing, and that included also the opportunity to attend a workshop that was put on by FEST and to also be part of the Social Innovation Conference, had a one-day or an afternoon on a forum around ideas and ideas generation. So these were at no cost to the city. These were pro bono. And what we did was we received about 1,200 ideas. And so what we did is we took the ideas that we received, and we had criteria that looked at things like, are they innovative? Are they replicable? Can they be scaled up? Would they involve several of the goal areas that we're trying to achieve? And staff went through and identified 10 people, and these are 10 people that are residents of the City of Vancouver to participate in these events. So, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jing.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The collaborative leadership, that's one that was kind of added at the end, and I think it's great. So how did you deal with folks, you know, I don't know, maybe because I've worked in government and universities for so much of my life, everybody has their own turf and their bailiwick, and how did you overcome that? Was that an issue?
Well, I think as we heard from Mr. Edemansky, it was a big table. We spent, we met 4 or 5 times between January and August, and we had very, very good attendance. Most of these meetings were on Friday afternoon, amazingly enough, and they were 2 to 3 to 4 hour meetings. And I think really what was very, very clear, it was a little bit the same dynamic as happened in the mental health task force with the mayor. The whole group were, so delighted with the cross-sectoral representation that they had, and they all clearly recognized each other as leaders in the community, and people with experience in different elements of our goals. And I think they just felt that to be able to have a free discussion where all ideas were welcomed and we all basically acknowledged the challenge of getting to these goals and to the targets we were setting, just created an atmosphere where, you know, we were prepared to give up things that maybe we've been trying for years and move on and look at new things. And I think the final test will be in our action plan, and whether we can agree on what would be the most effective actions to achieve our goal, but secondly, do we have partners that will actually take on responsibility? Because I think one of the clear things for us is we can't be responsible for all the different pieces that will be part of an action and implementation plan. We will require other partners out in the community, whether there be other levels of government or nonprofits or philanthropic organizations, to take up the lead and actually take responsibility. And I think there's a lot of willingness and commitment to do that, and that will be very interesting next part of our discussion.
Yeah, that was one I was kind of wondering, because a lot of people participate in things to tell you what they want and how wrong everything is and things like that. But then when you say, okay, I'm going to call your bluff now, what are you going to do to help us out? Will you take on this responsibility? You sometimes get, you know, mixed messages. But it sounds to me as if a lot of folks at this leadership table was quite willing to do their bit.
I think unquestionably, and also recognizing that there is no one magic bullet on any of these things, that they're hard goals to get to, they're long awaited, and we just have to, ramp up our creativity in terms of, and willingness to, play a real part in getting there.
Okay. Yeah. Just sort of on next steps. So the implementation or coming to the plan now that we've got the goals and everything that we need to do, coming up with, how we actually going to do this with everybody. In terms of like the leadership, collaborative leadership model, how is that going to be structured? Do we have any ideas yet? Is it going to be similar to what happened with this round? Or in phase 2 there'll be a different round? Or what do you kind of envision around that? Because I'd love to see the momentum keep going.
Yes. And I think that's very important, and we have a lot of momentum. The leadership table, in order to be ready for council, met all the way through this summer, and they're anxious to get on to action planning. So we know, our strong desire is to sustain and maintain the leadership group, that they can, because they bring all the different experience from all these different sectors. And we have our technical staff group that is, still in place to assist and support with this. And then I think, we are going to look at things like the different visioning processes and, I forgot what you call them, your brain smackers, or, some of those new innovative creative methodologies to actually get people thinking up some solutions. That's what we're going to need as we come and run aground on some of these areas where there's been a lot of work over many years, lots of experience, and we haven't got there. So I think one of the wonderful things in the staff that actually help support this, the city is using some very innovative techniques now to actually think our way through where we need just more creativity and innovation. And we have a lot of people in the community and leaders like Al Adamansky who want to lead us and help us, develop skills and actually bring the public into and other partners in to make that contribution and break down the silos. So I don't know, Mary Claire, if you want to add anything, but innovation and methodologies of how to learn, a very collaborative structure at the top, in terms of being held accountable for delivering on this.
Well, certainly we've set the table for that very well, and thank you again for all your hard work. My time is up. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Jang, for self-monitoring on that. Next up, we have Councillor Deal.
Yes, thank you. Well, Councillor Jang actually asked several of my questions, but just to follow along that same trail, we've done this tremendous piece of work. I'm looking at the leveraging opportunities for other levels of government, for other not-for-profits, and you've mentioned that a little bit, but I can see this playing forward as a significant leveraging tool. Could you discuss that for a second?
Yes, I think it's interesting because we've had a lot of interest from federal colleagues, officials in various departments, as well as on the provincial side. And, I think one of the things that they're recognizing and appreciating about the work that we're doing here and in some of our other strategies is it is very integrated. There's a lot of public input. It has real resonance with the public. And it is innovative, and it doesn't just come out with, oh, well, let's ask the government to do this or that. And I think what we're finding is there's much broader willingness for them to, step in and offer to help be part of the solution because they feel like we're not expecting them to solve the problem for us. So I think in terms of that kind of leveraging and also the innovation, and our housing and homelessness strategy is a really good example of that. We're trying to develop a menu of different ways that different levels of government can actually help. And saying, okay, well, here's some choices that you could have to actually help us deliver on these goals for our residents. And this plan is really full of those kinds of opportunities. And they see that. Right. And I think that will be even more evident in the action plans.
Right. And that's interesting. And I think one of the challenges that we're facing internally and have done incredibly well with, that might be a bigger challenge as we move to other levels of government for the discussions, is which department do you talk to? And so I think that's going to be sort of a challenge it's not the Minister of Health necessarily.
Right. No. And
the province.
I mean, one of the nice things about being at the city level is I think we're always surprised at how willing people are to come and talk to us and be part of a discussion. I think this city has created a way of engaging, people in discussing these difficult policy issues that people feel comfortable in. And even as public officials, they're they want to come. They come from different groups. Sometimes they meet each other for the first time.
Right.
You know, at the round table of a conversation like this, and so they create bridges, and they start to think creatively as well. So
Right.
we see it as a big leveraging opportunity across the board for
Right, not just
everywhere.
for policies and resources, but even for conversation.
Absolutely, yeah, for
like that.
informing better public policy.
I like that. So in terms of moving forward and having these sort of cross-referencing conversations, I wonder, I asked about this with reconciliation yesterday, whether or not we're working with UBCM and FCM so that we're also sharing this laterally across other local governments across the country, because I think there's going to be, already are, and will continue to be many other local governments who are extremely keenly interested in this.
Yes, and I mean, it's, as we said yesterday, it's a real opportunity. You know, we have a very good relationship, and, you know, through the leadership of council and council members, you know, we are, I think, an important partner for FCM, both at the officials level and at the level of elected officials.
Yep.
And so, you know, any doors you can open up. Certainly in our research, we looked across the country and have learned from experiences of both our regional partners and other cities across Canada and, you know, everywhere, North America, Europe. So I think people know we really want to, we're happy to learn from them and pick up things and give them credit and share what we're doing. And
Right.
whatever opportunities you see as obvious, we'd be happy to do that.
We can certainly see about getting that distributed to the various committees and, of course, the mayors, in the mayor's capacity with big city mayors, opportunity there. I guess my last question would be whether or not this might provide an opportunity for us to make a very strong case for some of the prevention that Dr. Daly and others have been talking about, not just for physical health, but for societal health, and whether or not we can start to work this into some positions around well, you know, requesting changes of policy that will help prevent some of the problems that we're trying to address.
Yeah, I think unquestionably, and just, you know, knowing how, you know, at the provincial level and federal, where their leadership is really critical in terms of prevention policies, you know, when they, and the province of BC and the Ministry of Health are, you know, I acknowledge that they've actually told all the health authorities, you have to go and develop these memoranda and plans with your municipal partners, because really the way we engage our public is something that's very hard for them to do, very, very expensive and very difficult. So that when we work together with our regional health authority and come up with these, you know, public policy recommendations to council, it's very powerful for them, because they know that it's come with real engagement of the broad public and some of the groups that are, you know, in some ways more inequitably affected. So, you know, I think it's a very nice construct for them where they can feel a little bit more solid that the public understands and is with them.
We're providing a clear asset to them.
Yeah.
Councillor Deal, you're at time. Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Thanks very much. I had to step out for about an hour to see a delegation from Australia, so maybe this was touched on, but are you aware of other models that either in this country or abroad that we have to draw on, or are we kind of punching in the dark here?
We did extensive research on other models, both locally across the country and internationally. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier is what sets this apart are two things. One is its integration with our other sustainability goals. So our economic as well as our ecological. So the Greenest City Action Plan as well as the Vancouver Economic Strategy are really key to us being successful with the Healthy City Strategy and social sustainability. And then the other piece that sets it apart is the fact that we have rigor. We have our metrics and we have indicators that we're going to be measuring over time. And if we ensure that we do that, that will set us apart from the others.
Well, obviously, there are other cities in this country that are looking at our Greenest City Action Plan. Are you in touch with other cities now that are now interested in what the final product here will be?
Absolutely. We've been sharing information within the province and across the country and elsewhere, and there are people watching what we're doing, and we're in touch with, say, groups like Calgary that have done a fair bit of work in terms of poverty reduction. What can we learn from that in terms of what kinds of things that they're doing as well? So yes, there's I think there's going to be, I was at UBCM and presented actually not that long ago, and it seemed as though the municipalities there had quite an interest in what Vancouver was doing as well.
And so what sort of feedback are you getting from what they've seen, and are they, is there anything you can gleam on from that to this, or?
I would say very, very positive. People are very excited and want to be working with us, actually, in terms of sharing. It's like having a collaborative network that we need to be sharing across different cities. What are we learning? What are those opportunities that we can learn from each other as well? So I think that whatever can be done at the UBCM level or the FCM level will only be of benefit to us as well. That's very important.
This, though, isn't really based on anywhere else. This is a Vancouver product that you've just gleaned some ideas from here.
It's a Vancouver product, but the Healthy Cities movement internationally has been one that's been around for about 30 years. So we've built on that practice and added our own. So it's a made in Vancouver approach to social sustainability.
It's quite exciting, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. I had a few questions myself, starting with a couple on engagement. So I know there was some attention on the leadership table and the sort of the one end of the spectrum of engagement, but I note that several times in the report it references over 10,000 residents were engaged in this work, as well as advisory committees and community groups. Could you give us a better sense of that engagement?
I can speak to it, and I can have my staff add in. So there were about 1,300 people that participated in person, and these were ideas labs, labs where people would come from across the city, go to a community center or a neighborhood house or wherever we were hosting the event, and come and really understand what we were trying to achieve, understand the goals, and take the time to really imagine what could be different in your neighborhood where you live, and try to come up with ideas with others who were there about, okay, here's what we would do. So we took those ideas, but we also encouraged people to pursue those ideas on their own. And groups were formed, people came together. They themselves were places to engage. There was lots of vibrancy in the rooms and at all of those events. We were also at different open houses. So Raycam and Alive hosted an event during a National Aboriginal Day, or thereabouts. Hundreds of children and families were there, and we were able to take those kinds of opportunities and also hear from residents, get them to put their ideas forward. So in addition to that, those kinds of events, we also had our online opportunities for people to post ideas on an online forum called Soapbox, that people could vote on the ideas, those kinds of things. Twitter, we used all kinds of different media for this as well. So,
okay,
yeah, so that was
helpful.
Essentially it.
So in terms of moving forward, there are a number of groups today that offered assistance, partnership on the action planning phase. I see lots of nodding. So the intention would be to continue to engage with everyone you'd already engaged with, as well as add in folks that are offering assistance.
Yeah, I think our success is going to be our ability to be able to do that, to stay in touch with all of those who have participated so far. We do have an extensive list of groups that want to be in touch with us and to our website, and that we fan out information when we've got it, that kind of thing. And so, yes, definitely we will bring them into the fold.
Okay, that's great. A couple content-specific things. Living wage, which obviously was well canvassed today. As I read this report, it is already quite explicitly mentioned as a step that will be taken in the action planning phase. Am I reading that properly?
I think we should read is that those are themes that were identified as priorities. They were very, very common. So what that's going to mean is we're definitely going to put some focus on that, the leadership table and others to take it into an end.
You don't need any additional direction from us to do things you've already said that you will be doing?
I don't believe that we do. No.
Okay. Thank you. On right to healthy environment, which is, it's the 12th, number 12 in the document. That's it's a big step forward. It's one of the only rights that isn't guaranteed in the Canadian Constitution. A lot of the things that are covered off in Healthy City speak to how the city can sort of mobilize on rights that are already guaranteed in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So the question is around what what would change if we were to pass that right for people from a city standpoint? Like what changes about the way that we're looking at policy or implementation of policy?
Well, I think what changes and what even helps having it in the Healthy City Strategy is that we look at those health aspects, where it's health to, your right to food, clean air, water, the environment that's healthy generally, the issues around toxins and everything else across the different goal areas, because it doesn't just rest in that one particular goal area, it crosses the goal areas. And what it does also, I think, for us is move us closer in alignment and in partnership with the Green City Action Plan, right? Because it's talking about both, and the need to balance both.
That's great. Okay. That's it for my questions. Sorry, Mayor Robertson, you're on the queue. I'm sorry, Mayor Robertson is having troubles with his buttons today, so I did manage to manually put you on as the next speaker.
Little glitch with the with this terminal here. So thank you for adding me manually. I don't have questions. I actually am prepared to move the recommendations in the report.
Okay, but there are no other people on the queue, so you're on.
Perfect. Okay. Well, once again, a huge thank you to everyone who's been involved in building this Healthy City Strategy. It's been years of work, and it's an extraordinary piece of work for the city to advance. I think we've seen a lot of good work done in many different important realms of the city through the other major plans that we have in place, and certainly with the Economic Action Strategy and Green City Action Plan. We have two key pieces there with housing and homelessness. With many of our plans, we've considered facets of health in our city, but this really brings it all together under one holistic plan. And I appreciate the work not only on the big picture and the way that staff approach this, and reaching out to the expertise that's in the city to help build it and beyond the city, but then the focus down on details, metrics, and ensuring that we have some measurable goals going forward, and that we're focused on a dashboard that council and that citizens can track our progress. So really appreciate from the high level principles and targets right down to the details and how we track them. A great amount of work done, and I just want to say a special thanks to the team that really made this happen here at the city. Mary Claire Zach and Ali Gray Ali Grant as the two great drivers in community services, with Brenda Proskin keeping you on task as well. Certainly Caroline Young, Lindsay Newfield, and Peter Marriott and Nicholas Sharp, thanks for all the great work that you've been doing. And on the communication side of this, we had Amanda Mitchell helping, I know, on the engagement piece of this. And there are so many others that have helped on all fronts to build this, but just wanted to give a special thanks to those of you who have been living and breathing this for many moons, and appreciate the hard work, and also to Madam City Manager, Dr. Penny Ballum, who's brought her lifelong dedication to health and well-being and her vast experience directly in the field, and helped to apply it. I think it's been having that leadership from you, Dr. Ballum, has been essential to this happening. And thanks to Council for being willing to pursue this as well. I think it's been a piece that we have been checking in with regularly, and I think Council has been very supportive at every juncture. Particularly want to mention the work that Dr. Kerry Jang has done, again bringing his expertise and work from his other career, and working on elements of this plan as well. But appreciate all of that breadth of support, and we'll need to continue to make sure we draw the best from our city, from the team here at the city, and ensure that this continues to be a key priority for us going forward. I think the targets are well thought out. We look forward to the detail and the implementation planning, and I know a lot of that has already been done. A lot of the workup is there, so I'm hopeful that we see a report back on the next steps with implementation earlier in 2015. I know we've got the year to work with there. It would be good to see that in the months ahead, given that a lot of that work has already been done. So we'll be encouraged with the next action steps that take place. We do have a practice with a lot of our big plans of having quick starts, and it would be good to see some emphasis on what early actions we can take in 2015 when there is a report back, or if there's an opportunity before then for pieces that will help catalyze action towards our targets. We'd certainly be good to see the next council have the benefit of that coming back from staff. So I'll just wrap up. I think we've had lots of discussion about this for years, and appreciate the speakers coming and dedicating another chunk of your time to making sure this is seen through, and hope to have lots of participation from all the leaders across Vancouver who've made this possible, and really encouraged to see a big overarching goal like this that we can strive for as a city, and no doubt not only benefit the health and well-being of citizens of Vancouver, but learn a lot in the process that we can share with cities around the world. Thanks very much for all the great work.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much for all your support, and we look forward to next steps.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much, Mayor Robertson and Ms. Sack. We're going to move into debate on the motion that's on the floor, which is the one from the staff report. Councillor Carr is next up on the speakers list.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a very simple thank you and kudos to all the staff involved in this, to all the citizens who participated. I love the perspective on health, but I love how it's integrated, other policies, strategies, and programs. So just look forward to the results.
Thanks, Councillor Carr. Councillor Jang.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I will absolutely vote in favor of this. As I noted earlier on, this started in about the year 2010 with the urban health strategy, and it grew and it morphed and it became more comprehensive, and certainly took into account all those things people are always saying. When we talk about what causes homelessness, people say, well, it's not only a lack of home, it's poverty, it's this. There's a dozen reasons. What causes mental illness? The same thing. You know, a dozen different reasons, and you guys aren't doing enough, or you guys aren't including this. What about hypertension? Chronic hypertension, for example. Again, it's all those things that, people don't, people say you have to look at it more broadly in a much deeper scope, and this document does that. It's very difficult, I've looked at it, with sort of my academic eyes on it, trying to find holes and trying to punch holes in things and say, did we forget something? And it was really difficult for me to find anything. I want to congratulate all of you for all your hard work and the comprehensive approach. Even in the back that I'm going through, the appendixes on the references you cited. I mean, they're bang up to date, and you'd all get a pass in my class. But really, it's a superb piece of work. And I think over the last year, my role at UBCM on the Healthy Communities Committee, it really has picked up a lot of steam and a lot of notice from municipalities around the region, well, the entire province, I should say. It's to the point now where even the province is having difficulty trying to find other things not to fund, it's in meetings with various ministers. So it's really a great thing. I want to thank, too, of course, the mayor for all his hard work and his encouragement. I mean, a 4-year process to do this, and he stood by and pushed and said, look, it's not enough, it's not deep enough, it's not, broad enough. And I really thank Mayor Robertson and all my colleagues for, certainly Mayor Robertson, for all his, seeing what all of us had seen and actually getting it down on paper and making it a policy piece. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Jang. Councillor Deal.
Yes, thanks very much. Just a few brief comments of thanks and an acknowledgement of all the work. One of the reasons that I switched from being a microbiologist to an environmental fisheries kind of person, and one of the reasons I went from the park board, which I love, to council, was because I'm an ecosystem or a systems thinker. I really like looking at multivariate issues and how they overlap and interact and laterally link to each other. This podium's at the top height, so I'm just seeing the tops of people's heads over here. And this is one of those reports that really just appeals to that for me, because it does break down those silos, which we've been breaking down so well here at City Hall in recent years. And I know that the staff working on projects that cross multiple departments really enjoy that cross-pollination, and that we end up with a better city and better programs because of it. So that just this just turns my crank. This is absolutely the kind of thing I love to see. I think it's going to provide some value added above and beyond what we can even anticipate at this point, because people are going to have those cross-pollinating ideas, and new ideas will come out of all of that, as they already have, and this is a product of that. So congratulations to everybody. I really look forward to seeing the creative juices get flowing on implementing this strategy, and can't wait to be part of it. So congrats, and thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Councillor Deal. Councillor Stevenson.
Thanks very much. I absolutely will be voting in favor as well, but I wasn't really coming on to say that. I was basically wanting to follow Councillor Deal, whose birthday it is today, to say happy birthday.
Oh. That's so healthy of you to do that. Okay, Councillor Tang.
First, just like to thank all the staff involved in this, and really thank you for all the work. And coming from what I have done, and as the liaison councillor for the Senior Advisory Committee, I think there are always questions sometimes and saying, so you did the age-friendly action plan, what is it all about? Now seeing the age-friendly action plan at the same circle with the transportation 2040, I think that is add a larger credence to the age-friendly action plan, and how that is going to be implemented, and it's going to be benefit the seniors for the years to come. So I really appreciate all the work, and just thank you very much. I wholeheartedly and fully support this.
I think that leaves me as the second to last speaker before Mayor Robertson closes out. I also wanted to echo the thanks to Mayor Robertson and Councillor Jang, and to the long list of folks that they offered their thanks to. I did want to say, though, that a four-year undertaking of this effort or this scope requires incredibly tenacious and visionary leadership. So I did want to offer a special thanks to Mary Claire Zach and Ali Grant and Penny Bellum, because I know it's been a lot over a long period of time, and I'm guessing there's days when your faith was tested in the process, but I never saw them. You always showed up looking like this was possible. It is a massive effort to go through this concept of bringing together a coherent policy framework across all the departments and the family of the City of Vancouver and our cousins in BCH and in other government agencies, and bearing in mind that the policies of the City of Vancouver across all these areas span many decades. The children and family policy, which I'm quite familiar with from my childcare work, actually has a cut with scissors and paste picture on the front of it, because it predates modern word processing. That's how long ago it was written. So trying to wind all of that together with modern initiatives like Greenest City and the Economic Action Strategy is a phenomenal undertaking, especially across trying to work with all these other agencies that have their own dusty cupboards and modern initiatives. And I think that you've really pulled together something that very much speaks to 21st century aspirations of all of our residents, no matter what their age, no matter what their neighborhood, what their ethnic background, their lived experience. This is an opportunity for them to be able to not only be healthy, but really have the tools that they need to meet their full potential in the City of Vancouver. So I want to thank you for sticking with it to this moment. I'm so pleased we're not breaking down into a long amendment-rich debate right now, and that we will move, I think, to a vote. Mayor Robertson, did you have closing words?
Basically to the effect that this is our last time sitting as a council together, and how incredibly fantastic it is that this is the last action of this council, and staff working all together as a team. And it is an extraordinary body of work, and I think an incredible legacy. I think this is one of those moments we will be able to look back on and say, we brought this into being in the city, and helped change the course of history here for the better in looking after our city, and a great way to end a very productive term. And a huge thank you to staff here at the city. The dedication is inspiring, and you inspire us as a council to keep doing more. And we've done a lot in these years working together, and this is a real culmination of those efforts into the Healthy City for all. This is a great body of work and much appreciated. And to all of this council, good luck on November the 15th. And hopefully we'll be able to come back as a council in the next term and work on the implementation together as a big team. But just appreciate all the work that everyone's done on this as our last piece, and looking forward to continuing that work together in whatever capacities we're in going forward. Thanks everyone for a great term and a great healthy city plan.
Okay, well, let's confirm this with an actual vote here. So I'm gonna call the vote. Hopefully you've got something up on your screen that lets you vote.
How are you going to vote?
Oh no, Mayor Robertson, you voted. It doesn't tell. I know that computer well. You can't tell you voted, but you did. I have one councillor I am waiting for. That would be you, Councillor Stevenson. Do you want me to assist your voting? Oh, we got it. Okay, perfect. So I will end the vote with the big reveal. 10 councillors here, 10 councillors voting in favor, and that item is done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just before I pass this back over to Mayor Robertson for the council meeting, to say that, just to echo the words, we actually do have one council meeting left on November 25th, but I am very happy to say this is my last meeting chairing Planning, Transportation and Environment, because we won't have another committee meeting before the end of term. And to thank you all for bringing really excellent behavior to today's meeting. It's a big piece of policy to get through. My second big announcement was going to be that it's Councillor Deal's birthday, but probably the best thing to do is just speed us along so she can get on with having a birthday today. Mayor Robertson, the floor is yours.
Oh, noting that Councillor Deal is a singer with the Bach Choir, I think it's appropriate that we do sing her happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Heather.
Want some harmony?
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
We will now convene in regular council to deal with the recommendations and actions from today's Standing Committee on Planning, Transportation and Environment meeting. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Thank you. Mayor Robertson in the chair. Councillor Reimer. Here. Councillor Louie. Here. Councillor Stevenson. Here. Councillor Deal.
Here.
Councillor Jang. Here. Councillor Meggs is absent. Councillor Tang.
Here.
Councillor Ball. Councillor Affleck.
Here.
Councillor Carr. Do you have a quorum, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And we need a motion to adopt the Standing Committee's recommendations. Councillor Tang, seconded by Councillor Jang. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councillor Deal,
Birthday present.
seconded by Councillor Reimer. All those in favor or any opposed? And that carries. This meeting is adjourned.
All right.